So I've been covering extensively, Josiah, I know you have been, to the Republican Party's impeachment nonsense and investigation into Joe Biden desperately trying to find something that they just can't find, then acting like they found the thing, and then you realize that it's just a payment, a reimbursement from Hunter Biden to Joe Biden for something Joe Biden helped Hunter Biden.
He paid Hunter Biden's allowance back in the,
when he was a third
80s.
grader. Yeah. Right. And so Brian Kilmeade, the Fox News host, who's very on board with pushing the propaganda on this issue for the Republican Party, he said during a recent discussion with Harris Faulkner that Republicans trying to impeach Joe Biden would be a waste of time, a quote, waste of time, end quote, which is very strange considering, I'll show you a part of this discussion. Just imagine the whole few minutes before the part that I show you is just Brian Kilmeade perpetuating the very same Republican talking points about Joe Biden being guilty of all these different things based on evidence they just can't seem to find. So take a look at this, and then Josiah and I will break it down.
I have not asked anybody this, and we got to be really quick. How much time do you think Republicans have to make this case before you are really into the season next year of a presidential run?
I think after the conventions, this is still coming up in August and June, September. I think it's good to impeach him. It's not. It's ridiculous. Yeah, I just look into it. Yes. Expose it. Yes. Impeachment. Waste of time.
Got it. Brian Kilmeade, not a waste of time. We've simulcast on so many platforms right now. Happy to be with you. Now let me brag about your book.
So, again, everything we've covered. Oh my gosh, they got the direct payments, money laundering. Oh my. Brian's on board with all that. And then he says, expose the stuff, but don't impeach Biden. Something I've said before is, if all the things they were saying about Biden actually were true, then yes, impeach him. It's just, they're not. That's the problem.
Yeah, so the whole thing's kind of strange, right? Because Brian Kilmeade has been perhaps not the most strident cheerleader of the Biden impeachment, but he's up there on the Fox Propaganda Network. There's no doubt about it. So for him to be like, I accept everything at face value that Republicans are alleging, and you should definitely keep exploring it, expose it, yes, but don't bother impeaching. Well, why? Why? I mean, the lack of explanation raises more questions than anything. Is it because deep down, Brian, you know they don't have the goods? Is it because you don't think they can make a persuasive case to the American people, even if they do have the goods? So it's either you take issue with the evidence, the claims, or the people delivering the evidence and the claims, or all the above. It's either a lack of confidence in James Comer and the Republicans or in the case and the claims that they've made. And I don't think anybody who's paying attention will be fooled by this. I imagine even Fox viewers are going to be like, well, you did it. Why is it a waste of time? If everything you say is true, why is it a waste of time?
Isn't that proving that somewhere you're being crazy? Either you're saying there's evidence, but there's not, or there is evidence, but you're just opposed to accountability. Because if Biden was leading the Biden crime family, as they say, and he's been enriched through money laundering, through China, through a truck, and all this different stuff, and get this is pretty smart what Biden did. He loaned his brother money, okay, then got paid back for it with no interest, which then makes him want to help China.
Well, no, see, so Luke, you're not being fair.
Did I miss something? Explain to me.
It's kind of like, last time we saw each other and I spotted you $1 for a Coke, and then you paid me $1 back. I basically made $2 because I had $1 in my hand at one point, the $1 I gave to you, and then you gave me $1 back. And that's just Republican math.
Oh, I want to remind you, you think we're going overboard in our mocking? Here's a clip of James Comer.
You can loan people money. If they pay you back, then you benefited directly from the influence peddling scheme.
That's exactly what Josiah just said. I came out on top, $2. What? And then Brian Kilmeade, he's eating it all up, but don't impeach. I saw too Ron DeSantis say something similar. I think that Biden's engaged in all this corruption, absolutely, but also Republicans should be focusing on real issues. So you're admitting it's not a real issue.
Yeah, so there's no way to thread these needles. The thing is, when people talk about, when even Democrats make the case that, Republicans focusing on impeachment are not focused on things that matter, the only reason Democrats are saying that is because the Republicans have no evidence for their claims. If, as you said in the beginning, the sitting president was indeed guilty of money laundering and compromising, state power and state interest for a foreign adversary, Democrat or Republican, that is not only an impeachable offense, but that is something that Congress should be focused on. Congress should be focused on curtailing corrupt presidents. That is something that matters to the American people. That is something to be focused on. So when Ron DeSantis and others say don't focus on it, just by sheer implication, unavoidable implication, there's no other good faith way to interpret it. It's because they don't have the goods, or you have no confidence whatsoever in their ability to make a persuasive case. It's one of the two or both. That's it.
And they know, I honestly think it's sort of a Nancy Mace sort of two-faced thing they're able to do, where they can spend a bunch of time. I wish I hadn't looked at my monitor when you just made that face, Josiah. They can spend a bunch of time perpetuating the lies to get people thinking maybe there's something here, but then not go as far as to encourage Republicans to actually follow through on impeachment, because they know that would actually alienate some American voters who are like, wait, what are they impeaching Joe Biden for? And kind of get the best of both worlds. But I'll remind you, in terms of the quote unquote evidence, I think it's hard to even follow. All of a sudden they're like, oh, maybe he's a master drug dealer too, and he is engaged in all these different crimes. But I think the claim is he was getting money to do policy things to benefit his son's company, or just to do certain policy things. It's unclear. But as a reminder, here is Republican Congresswoman Lisa McClain just recently on Maria Bartiromo's show getting asked, which policies are you saying that Biden changed because he was getting bribed? The bribe, I'll make sure to note, there's no evidence of any bribe. But if there's a bribe, what would be the policy that he'd be changing? And here was her response.
Have you been able to identify any actual policy changes that Joe Biden made as a result of getting money from China?
The short answer is no. That's what we're trying to get to right now. That's why Jamie Comer, or Chairman Comer, is requesting those documents that the FBI knew he had.
So that's what some of them say. Then some of them say, oh, it's because he pushed for the firing of Victor Shokin. We've gone through that a million times. I don't want to have to go through it again. Josiah, do you want to remind people of that nonsense?
Yeah, so long story short is there was a corrupt Ukrainian prosecutor during the Obama administration that the European community and the Obama State Department wanted to get rid of, because the United States was heavily involved in funding Ukraine and helping Ukraine rebuild. They didn't want their chief law enforcement officer to be very corrupt. So eventually Vice President Joe Biden, along with the Obama State Department, pressured Ukraine into firing Victor Shokin, this corrupt Ukrainian prosecutor. And by the way, so did members of the Republican Party, like Ron Johnson of Wisconsin, who was part of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Republicans also backed Obama in this respect. Get this corrupt Ukrainian prosecutor out of here. But the reason that Republicans are now saying that, Joe Biden was acting corruptly was his son, Hunter, was on the board of a Ukrainian energy company called Burisma. And Burisma, at one point, before Hunter Biden became employed by them, before, they were under investigation by the Ukrainian prosecutor general's office. So the claim is that Hunter Biden was under investigation, even though it concerned a time period before he was employed there. So he's a time traveler. And Joe Biden intervened to protect his son, even though it was official Obama State Department policy. And they have no proof of it, but it doesn't matter. You just say a conspiracy theory enough times and people will be persuaded.
Then my favorite cherry on top of that story is the fact that then we learn, because it's been investigated now for how long, that Burisma at the time at issue wanted Victor Shokin to stay in place. His lack of a commitment to actual justice, because he was corrupt, benefited them. So Joe Biden was bribed, you don't have evidence of a bribe, to do something to benefit his son that didn't benefit his son. And like you said, the timeline's all strange, and also didn't benefit his son's company. So as all of that crumbles down, they're left saying that it's proof of corruption that Joe Biden helped pay for a truck for Hunter Biden and then got paid back for it by Hunter Biden. Come on.
No, the whole thing is wildly incoherent, and it's there's a political interest here, obviously. You know, that the prevailing theory, and I think there's merit to it, is that Republicans know Trump has been impeached twice. He's under 91 or 92 federal charges. And he is competitive right now with the president in terms of polling. And so they want to keep that competitive as much as possible. And so the idea is, if you impeach Biden, or if you accuse Biden of corruption and you keep saying it over and over and over again, that by the time of the 2024 election, they can say to voters, okay, you think Trump is corrupt because of this, this, and this. Well, Biden's kind of corrupt too. So aren't these two basically equal with respect to corruption?
I've had people say to me that they, saw my coverage, looked into it, tried to figure out, is there actually actual evidence? And then it seemed like there wasn't actual evidence. But surely, Luke, if there's this much discussion going on, Biden has to be sort of corrupt. There has to be something. That's the whole idea. I've said a bunch of times, they can't make Trump look less corrupt, but they can make Biden look more corrupt to try to even that comparison a little bit. And it's so enraging. Before we go on this segment, Josiah, do you want to plug your channel?
Absolutely. You can find me at youtube.com/@ponderingpolitics, one word. Appreciate the collaboration, Luke.